Ever since 11 tore open the fabric between worlds in the Hawkins lab, the Upside Down has seeped into our reality in terrifying and unpredictable ways. From flickering lights to monstrous invasions, each gate has got its own eerie story and consequences. Over the course of Stranger Things, these gateways have popped up everywhere like basements, forests, even hospital hallways, reminding us that the Upside Down is always lurking. Whether cracked open by psychic powers, scientific experiments, or Vecna's wrath, each portal has deepened the mystery of Hawkins and pushed our favorite characters to their limits. Join us as we break down all of the Upside Down gates, how they were opened, what came out, and what it all means for the big finale. The 1979 gate, long before Demogorgon stalked the streets of Hawkins and Vecna twisted the minds of teenagers, a hidden war was already brewing, one that would alter the course of reality itself. In Stranger Things Season 4, the origins of the Upside Down's terrifying influence were finally pulled into the light, and it all started with a moment of raw, unfiltered power inside the walls of the Hawkins lab. Back in 1979, a young 11, still figuring out her powers, went up against the mysterious and menacing Henry Creel. He'd already caused a massacre, but 11 wasn't gonna let him get away with it. They had a brutal fight that didn't just end with Henry losing, it ripped a hole in the universe. With a scream of psychic energy, 11 hurled him into an unknown world, inadvertently opening the first ever gate to the Upside Down. The moment he vanished, sinister vines slithered outward, sealing the gate like a scar on Hawkins' reality. That wasn't just the start of Vecna, it was when everything changed, and Hawkins started going downhill. Unless Stranger Things Season 5 reveals an even earlier incident, this gate stands as the true origin point for the nightmare that followed. The Mother Gate. If there's one gateway that forever changed the sleepy town of Hawkins and the fate of everyone in it, it's the infamous Mother Gate, the original tear in reality that unleashed a nightmare. It was hidden in the cold, clinical walls of Hawkins' lab, and it wasn't just a portal. It was a breach born from human curiosity and psychic power colliding in the worst possible way. Back in 1983, during an experiment meant to probe the edges of the unknown, 11 made contact with something monstrous, the Demogorgon. That one moment opened a hole between worlds in the lab's tank room, and through it came horror. The monster snuck into Hawkins, grabbed Will Byers, triggering the chain of supernatural chaos that followed. The Mother Gate didn't stay small either, it got bigger, spreading, and messing up the town with dark tunnels. Even though 11 closed it in Season 2, the damage was already done. The Mother Gate was more than just the start of the series, it was the first true sign that Hawkins was sitting on the edge of something far more dangerous than anyone could imagine. The gate at Hawkins Middle School. While the Mother Gate may have been ground zero for Hawkins' descent into supernatural chaos, it wasn't the only portal that left a lasting scar. There was another one, right in the middle of Hawkins Middle School, that was super important in the first 2 seasons of Stranger Things. As the desperate search for Will Byers intensified, the gang transformed their school into a makeshift battleground, and a laboratory. They used a sensory deprivation tank to help 11 connect with the Upside Down, which totally got Hawkins' lab's attention. But it wasn't just the government guys who showed up. A Demogorgon smelled the blood from 11's fight and busted through a wall, all teeth and terror. In a final act of sacrifice, 11 faced off against the creature, vanishing in a burst of light and leaving her friends devastated. But she wasn't gone for good. Season 2 showed that the gate stayed open, hidden in the school, and 11 used it to get back from the Upside Down. This chilling gate proved that even familiar, safe places could hide the darkest secrets, and it cemented Hawkins Middle School as one of the earliest battlegrounds in the war between worlds. The temporary gates in Season 1. Not all gates to the Upside Down were massive ruptures in space-time or products of psychic power. Some were fleeting, eerie wounds in the fabric of reality, torn open by the Demogorgon itself. In Season 1 of Stranger Things, Hawkins was like a haunted maze of thin veils between worlds, and these temporary gates popped up in the unlikeliest places. One of the most unsettling breaches formed right inside the Byers' home, where Joyce's desperate attempts to communicate with Will were met not just with flickering lights, but with a gaping, living hole in the wall. Another famous one was in a tree in the woods, where Nancy Wheeler fell into the upside down while looking for Barb. These gates weren't stable, they'd pulse, hiss, and then close, sometimes super fast, like the one in the tree that closed after Nancy got out, and sometimes slower, like the one in the buyer's living room. The weirdest thing is how the Demogorgon made these gates, like, without any psychic powers or scientific equipment. It's a chilling reminder that the creatures of the Upside Down aren't just monsters, they're keys to the doorways themselves, able to punch through dimensions at will, leaving horror in their wake and no place in Hawkins truly safe. The Russian gates, just when it seemed Hawkins was the only epicenter of Upside Down activity, Stranger Things Season 3 blew the door wide open, literally and figuratively. The sinister reach of the other dimension wasn't just in America anymore. The Russians were doing their own experiments to get to the Upside Down. Armed with brutal technology known as keys, they kept trying to force open portals, but they always failed. What they needed wasn't just power, it was location. They figured Hawkins, already weakened by previous breaches, was the key. So, they built a secret lab under the new Starcourt Mall. Underneath all the food and lights, they finally opened the gate. It was like a secret Cold War horror movie, with monsters, spies, and a gate that almost killed Hopper when Joyce had to shut it down. This hidden gateway beneath Starcourt wasn't just a physical threat, it was proof that the battle over the Upside Down had gone global, and that Hawkins was no longer the only front line in a war between dimensions. The trailer gate, in Stranger Things Season 4, the horror of the Upside Down reached a new, deeply personal level, because this time, the gates weren't opened by machines, science, or even psychic blasts. They were opened by murder, all fueled by pain, trauma, and supernatural revenge. Vecna, the malevolent being lurking at the heart of the Upside Down, unveiled a terrifying new method of breaching dimensions, using the minds and memories of broken teens. His curse didn't just kill, it ripped holes in reality. His first victim was Chrissy Cunningham, the perfect cheerleader who was hiding some serious issues at home. She was looking for a way out and ended up at Eddie Munson's place, but instead of finding peace, she got nightmares. Vecna messed with her mind, and her body started floating, her limbs snapped, and her eyes got ripped out, all while Eddie watched, totally helpless. When it was over, Chrissy's body was a mess, and a gaping gate had been opened in the ceiling of the trailer, connecting to the Upside Down. It was a brutal scene that kicked off Vecna's reign of terror and showed us that gates could be made from grief, guilt, and human suffering. The road gate, Vecna's reign of psychological terror didn't stop with Chrissy Cunningham. His next victim was Fred Benson, a quiet and intelligent student who wrote for the Hawkins High School newspaper alongside Nancy Wheeler. While checking out the creepy scene where Chrissy died, Fred started having a nightmare that was way worse than any scary story. Turns out, Fred was super guilty about a car accident where his friend died, and Vecna totally used that against him. Fred started hallucinating, seeing funerals, messed up faces, and Vecna himself. The mental torture led him to the road where the accident happened, and that's where his trauma got used against him. Just like Chrissy, Fred got lifted up, his bones snapped, and his eyes were ripped out. When he died, another gate to the Upside Down opened up right where he was killed. This was no random killing, Vecna was systematically tearing through Hawkins' most vulnerable, and with each soul he took, he punched another hole into the world above, dragging Hawkins ever closer to the brink of destruction. The Watergate, Vecna's third victim came from a completely different circle of Hawkins High, Patrick McKinney, a rising basketball star who, on the surface, had it all: athletic talent, popularity, and a spot on the team. But even when things look good, pain has a way of hiding in plain sight. We didn't get the full story on Patrick, but Lucas mentioned something about abuse at home, like the black eye he had. As Vecna's curse spread, Patrick was next. After Chrissy's funeral, he joined Jason and Andy to hunt down Eddie Munson, who they thought was behind everything. Their search led them to the eerie stillness of Lover's Lake, where Eddie tried to flee across the water in a boat. But as Jason and Patrick swam after him, the true threat revealed itself: not Eddie, but the evil lurking just beneath the surface. Patrick was pulled under, then thrown up in the air, twisted and broken, just like the others. His death didn't just leave the others in shock, it left a gate to the upside-down gaping at the bottom of the lake, yet another breach carved by pain and psychic murder. As Vecna's power grew, so did the number of gates, pulling Hawkins ever deeper into a web of darkness with no clear escape. The Creel House Gate, the final and most devastating gate, opened at the heart of Vecna's twisted empire, the Creel House, and it marked Stranger Things Season 4's most emotionally shattering moment. Max, who barely got away from Vecna before, was his final target in a ritual to rip open the world for good. Even though the Hawkins crew tried everything to stop him and Eleven used her powers from far away, Vecna was way stronger than anyone thought. He totally wrecked Max, breaking her limbs and making her eyes bleed like his other victims. Eleven managed to get to Max and use her powers to restart her heart, but it was too late. Max died, even if it was just for a second, and that was enough. Her death opened the final gate inside the Creel House. But this gate was different, it was the last part of Vecna's plan. It connected with the other 3 gates opened by Chrissy, Fred, and Patrick, causing a huge explosion that tore Hawkins apart. The town shook, buildings fell, and the walls between worlds started to disappear.